Hey, it's JJ Virgin, and it's straight up on the hour. So I am excited to welcome you to my live webinar, which means I'm going to be taking questions and interacting, and I'm so excited to be doing that with you. But first, I do want to make sure that you have the worksheet. So just as a reminder, you should have gotten sent the download of the Why Wait worksheet. And if you didn't get that in your email, you can grab it now by going to jjvirgin.com/worksheet. We made that simple. And that's going to help you follow along and really know which are the high points during the talk. So I want to make sure that you walked out of here with concrete information that you can put to use right away. So again, make sure you grab the Why Wait worksheet PDF, jjvirgin.com/worksheet. And again, as I go through the call, I will be taking questions further along in the call. So if one comes up, pops into your brain, all you need to do is check out the little question area below the webinar and type it on in, and we have someone monitoring that and sending them on over to me. Okay? Alrighty, let's dive in to my webinar. And again, thank you all so much for being here. And the title of this is Why Wait? And that's a play on words, but it's really about what you might be waiting for, what's holding you back. Because I believe we're all here for a reason, and we're all here to do big things. And we start out and we have these big dreams. Maybe as you were growing up, you wanted to be a teacher, or you wanted to be a writer, and I tell this story because this actually happened to me. You wanted to be a writer, and a teacher said, you know what, you can't write. Or you've always dreamed of having your own business, but maybe your spouse is afraid with the economy. Or it could be your health or your weight that's holding you back. So this is me just going into 7th grade. I will share with you that I insisted that my mother buy me this horsey shirt. I can't really blame it on her. And I picked out those glasses too. And my mom, even going into 7th grade, if you haven't stood next to me, you don't know that I'm actually 6 feet tall, but my mom was always like, oh my gosh, don't wear high shoes, you're too tall, and don't be so outspoken. And I'm like, okay. I don't know. So I started to shrink, right? And then the whole adolescence thing hit, and you can see the start of it on my chin. There's a little zit. Well, that was like the best day going. So I started struggling with acne. I was always a little overweight, but more like a little Buddha belly. In fact, I still remember this. I was teaching aerobics, and I was walking through a department store in my workout outfit, and this gal asked me if I was pregnant. Like one of those things you never ask someone if you don't know, right? Because I was always had this little belly. I mean, like worked out, and I thought I was eating healthy, and yet there that was. So, between the acne and that little bit of that extra weight, and my mom doing the best she can, but telling me not to be so bold, not to stand so tall. I didn't have the confidence to really go after my dreams. And I think about how many missed opportunities there were. And I just don't want that for you. If old programming is holding you back, like your mom saying, don't stand so tall, get over it. Why did it take me this many years to go, forget it? But if it's your health or your weight holding you back, I'm going to show you how you can change that in 3 weeks or less. Literally. I mean, the acne I told you about, that bloating, I turned that around in under a week, and it was effortless when I discovered what I'm going to teach you today. And I'm also going to share with you how you can do this with me and join our community if that resonates with you. If you're listening to this going, yes, let's do this. Because the last thing I want you to do ever is let go of your dreams. To me, I look at your dreams like they were your kids. I mean, when you're looking here, these are my kids. This is them when they were younger. Now they're teenagers. Now I'd have to sneak up on them to grab them. And if you have teenage boys, you know what I mean. So I've got Grant on the right-hand side and Bryce on the left-hand side. And again, to me, I mean, any moms out there, you know, you never let go of your kids. And I think that's what letting go of your dreams is like. So I'm going to share the story of Michelle. And a couple months ago, I had the honor of being a speaker at the California Women's Conference. And Michelle is the CEO of this event. I mean, this is a massive event. Thousands of women. She has this huge career, plus she's a mom. She's got teenagers. And when I was talking to her, this was a couple months before the event, you can see it's the holidays, and she just looked tired, honestly. I'm like, Michelle, you look so tired. And she goes, you know, I'm tired, I hurt, and I just can't seem to lose the weight. I just can't seem to lose the weight. So I sat with her and I went, well, tell me about that. And she struggled with me how much, or she shared with me how much she had struggled with weight loss over the years. You know, you might feel like this too, like it's been your hobby. Like this should not be a hobby. And, you know, when I heard that, I said, you know, Michelle, this is not your fault. Literally, you've just been following the wrong set of rules. Your body is not a bank account. It's not an ATM machine. It's not calories in, calories out. It's a chemistry lab. And food is information. By the way, worksheet, food is information. There's your first one. Food is information. And if you're struggling with your weight, it could be that you're not losing weight because of food intolerance. It's really interesting because I've been teaching this course to doctors for years. I taught called Overcoming Weight Loss Resistance. And because of that, I went into a ton of different doctors' offices and I was helping them use a simple food intolerance test with their patients. And patients were walking with all these symptoms. I'm going to share them with you in a minute. And we would run these tests on them, and the same foods always showed up. It was crazy. Always the same foods. When we pulled them out, the symptoms would go away fast, and the side effect was that they lost weight effortlessly. So what I'm going to run you through are some of the symptoms, the most common symptoms that I've seen for food intolerance. And I'll give you a little heads up that so often these symptoms are things that we've just come to accept as normal for us. You know, we're aging, or we're women, or we're Americans, or we're human, okay, or it's Tuesday. But in reality, getting rid of them can be as simple as changing what's on the end of your fork. And as I'm going through them, if you're not sure, if you go, I don't know if that's me or not, it's you. That's a yes. All right, so let's go through. Gas and bloating, joint pain, brain fog, cravings. You just can't lose weight no matter how hard you try. Fatigue, headaches, skin problems, acne, rosacea. This was one I struggled with forever. Looking and feeling older than you should. All right. So, how did you do there? This is, by the way, not a test you want to score high on, right? You don't want to get the perfect score here at all. So I did this with Michelle, and Michelle, she got one of those like high scores. And honestly, that was great because all of a sudden she went, things could be different, right? So here's what's cool. This is Michelle after. And, you know, Michelle didn't have a whole lot of weight to lose. She lost 20 pounds. She actually didn't even have to think about it. She said, JJ, it was effortless. But more important than that was what changed in her energy, in her focus. And what's really cool about this, as I told you before, we were talking about this a couple months before her big conference was going on. Michelle was traveling. She went through the holidays. She was working like crazy, and she was doing dinners for her kids. I mean, all sorts of stuff going on. And she said, you know what? This was actually having the virgin diet while I was going through all of this made it easier to do because I knew exactly what to eat. I knew exactly what to take with me when I was traveling. Now, I call this gal Wheelbarrow Wendy. Wheelbarrow Wendy had so many things going on, so many health problems. But like Michelle, she'd also struggled for years with her weight. She had thyroid issues, she had PCOS, and she couldn't lose weight. And her doctor said, Wendy, you have to lose weight. You have to lose weight. But I want you to imagine this. Imagine a sand dune. Now, take a big wheelbarrow and stick it right at the base of that sand dune. Okay? Now, imagine that wheelbarrow has bricks piled up. And then take that wheelbarrow and I want you to try to push it up the sand dune. Impossible, right? So remember I told you Wendy's doctor said she had to lose weight? In the next breath, he said, but Wendy, losing weight for you is going to be like filling a wheelbarrow full of bricks and pushing it up a sand dune. I mean, are you kidding me? How motivated would you be if you heard that? Well, Wendy heard about the Virgin Diet. And again, just like Michelle, when she started hearing all those symptoms of food intolerance, she's like, check the box, check the box, checks the box. She knew this was different than anything that she'd ever heard before. So she was so excited, and she came home and she told her family, guess what? And you can imagine they're like, are you kidding? They were not so excited. But she said, hey, you know what? It's just 3 weeks. We can do anything for 3 weeks because what we have you do is pull those 7 foods, and I'll be telling you the 7 foods in a little bit, but you pull the 7 foods out for 3 weeks. You let your body cool down during those 3 weeks. And by the way, you're not left hanging during those 3 weeks. I give you simple swaps. So you know exactly what you can eat. You won't even miss the foods. But you take those 3 weeks, you pull the 7 foods out, you swap in other foods you're probably going to like better. And at the end of 3 weeks, then you re-challenge so that you can connect the dots between what you're eating and how you feel and what you weigh. And you can go, okay, this food works for me. Oh, this food doesn't. It's a totally different way to look at food that's so empowering because you're not going to go, oh, I'm going to have a little bit of this, or I'll just try. Now you know. You go, you know what, when I eat this, it hurts me. Oh, when I eat this, I feel great. I have great energy. You know exactly what's going on. So Wendy convinced her family on the, let's do the 3-week deal. And here's what happened. We actually now call the family the 300-pound family. I think it's actually maybe even 350-pound family now because collectively, Wendy, her 2 sons, and her husband, Mark, have lost over 300 pounds. And that also includes her mom because now Wendy has just gone around. She's sharing this with everybody, which I just love. She's become a role model for all these other people. And the son next to the husband, Mark, Dylan, by the way, when this all started, was 396 pounds. Nothing had worked. He's dropped now over 100 pounds. How awesome is this? I mean, and that's what really, when it all comes down to it, I say to people, hey, if you're thinking, okay, you know what, I don't know, I'm not so inspired, but if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your family. Look at what happened when Wendy took this home to her family, and then they all got into it together. And I'm going to tell you, hey, they weren't like Wendy and the son right next to her, Destin. They were really into it to start, and kind of Mark and Dylan were like, yeah, but then they got into it too, and it got to be fun. So before I get to the 7 foods, and I am going to give you those 7 foods and the simple swaps, and then we're going to take some questions. But before I get to that, I want to just share with you about my upcoming Virgin Diet Challenge because I'm doing something, honestly, that I have never done before, which I am super excited about. And if you are not online right now, you can go to jjvirgin.com/group challenge. So here's the deal. Over the last 18 months, I've helped over 1 million people lose the weight and feel better fast on the Virgin Diet. And I really decided, okay, let's go for 5 million. So I looked at what is standing in the way. Why do some people fail? And I realized that the number one reason people fail is they just never start. I've met people who said, JJ, I've got your book, but I haven't opened it. Oh, that just is like a knife to my heart. So I decided to put on a group challenge where we all do this together. That's the theme. We are doing this together. And you know what's so great about that? You have a start date. Plus, one of the things I found to be most effective and most fun to do is to do the Virgin Diet with a friend or in a group, just like Wendy did it with her family. So I'm starting the Virgin Diet Group Challenge July 1st. That's going to be our prep week. Then we dive into cycle 1, July 28th. And when you get the Virgin Diet online program, which by the way it works is the Virgin Diet Challenge is going to use the Virgin Diet online program. So we're going to be working through that. So when you get the Virgin Diet online program, you get a bonus ticket to the Virgin Diet Group Challenge. We're going to be using the online program to go through the challenge. And the online program is my deep dive into the Virgin Diet. Because after all, there's really only so much you can fit into a book, even when you pack it. The online program includes me walking you through every step of the program as if I was working with you one-on-one. It's got my workbook of tracking sheets, assessments, and guide, my companion exercise program, bonus programs on sleep and stress, more recipes. That's just a brief overview of all the cool stuff. It's the most comprehensive program I've ever put together, and you can see what includes right there on the slide. But the big thing is it includes a $25 value bonus ticket for my group challenge event that starts July 21st. I am so excited to do this with you guys. So it's going to feature a community forum that my Virgin Diet coaches are going to be actively involved with to support you. Plus, you're going to be able to jump in there and grab an accountability partner and get support from the group. I'm going to be leading live calls as well to support you and answer your questions and share some more cool strategies and tips. And then here's the fun part. We are having a bunch of contests along the way where you're going to be able to win some really great contests. For example, if you do a great tweak to the Virgin Diet, to one of the Virgin Diet recipes from the cookbook, you could win So Delicious dairy-free products. And we also have wild fish and grass-fed beef packages, excisers, all sorts of cool, fun stuff. We're going to do a contest for best swaps and a big transformation contest as well. And then I've got one more awesome thing. So to make this even more fun, I'm going to give you an extra ticket for a friend. So you can bring a friend into the challenge event and they get the online program too. That's a $122 value for the online program, which is $97, and the bonus ticket. And all they have to do is pay a $10 registration fee to get enrolled. That is it. So you get my online Virgin Diet program, the $25 bonus ticket to the group challenge event, and all the same for a friend for just $97. And then we're going to do all these fun, cool contests along the way. This is going to be a blast. And let's face it, when you have a start date, it means that you will actually start. Right? Now, this is the only time I'm offering the challenge event this year. The only time. This is it. So jump in with me. And just to motivate you a little bit more, for the first 256 who register, I'm also including my In the Kitchen with JJ cooking series that I did with 7 of my favorite health experts. You're going to get the DVD series and recipe guide sent to your house to reward you for taking fast action. This is a $97 value itself. So to register, all you need to do is click on the button below, or if you are listening to this in your car, all you need to do is go to jjvirgin.com/group challenge. All right, now, 7 foods. I know that's what people are always like, okay, what's the 7? What's the 7? What's the 7? So I'm going to jump in now to the 7 foods, and then we will be taking calls at the end of the webinar. Again, if you've got some questions, I want to remind you that what you do is you jump onto the webinar screen and there's a questions box below. Type in your questions there, and I've got Lacey on board helping out with questions. Okay, so make sure you've got your worksheet out because I'm about to go with the 7. And I'm also going to let you know as I go through the 7 about some simple swaps that you can do. So I'm going to give you something that you will always remember when you think of corn. What do we feed cows and pigs to fatten them up? Corn. So why on earth would we eat popcorn thinking it's a diet food? It's basically sugar. And I don't know anyone who eats a cup of popcorn. Someone's like, well, can I have popcorn for a snack? I'm like, first of all, we got the snacking issue, which is a whole nother thing, because every time you snack, you drive up blood sugar and tell your body to store fat. But also, who eats a cup of popcorn anyway? So remember that. Cows and pigs, if they're eating it to fatten them up, what's it doing to you? And corn is very pro-inflammatory, really high in sugar, and oh my gosh, it is just in everything because we figured out how to produce loads of it. So this is such a simple swap. If you're having corn, which by the way is not a vegetable, it's not, it's a grain, okay? A very starchy grain that starts turning into sugar the minute it hits your mouth. Share that starts turning into sugar the minute it hits your mouth. So if you're eating corn, swap it out for lentils. If you're eating popcorn, I'm going to go with kale chips. And I got to tell you, in the Virgin Diet Cookbook, we have a kale chip recipe that just rocks. Just it's a simple thing. All you do with kale chips, olive oil, sea salt, yum. So easy to make, and you're never going to get in trouble snacking on some kale chips. So another easy swap, and I'm sure you're not seeing her go, oh my gosh, she's taking the corn away. So you're probably fine there. Next one here are peanuts. And big thing I tell you about peanuts is peanuts are not tree nuts. They're actually legumes. Now it's interesting. We've all heard about the kid, can't open the peanuts on the plane. Someone's got a peanut allergy. This used to be really rare, but it's becoming more common. But for the most part, I want you to realize, big difference between an allergy and a sensitivity. Allergies tend to be fairly rare, although they are becoming more common. And that's that immediate reaction to a food. You know if you have this. A sensitivity is delayed. And for so many of us, because if you're listening to this going, okay, well, you talked about all of those symptoms, but I don't, I eat these things all the time. I don't have a reaction to them. Well, the deal is you don't know because those symptoms are so low grade, you start to think they're normal for you, right? And that you don't recognize it until you pull them out and let your body cool down. So peanuts are an easy one because, oh my gosh, peanut butter, almond butter, cashew butter, macadamia nut butter. Have you tried this? Whoa. And then peanuts themselves, easy enough to switch for almonds or walnuts. Now let me give you a little trick on nuts that I like to do. Is soak them overnight in water and sea salt and then low roast them in the oven, or put them into a dehydrator. That's going to make them more digestible for you, and that actually makes them taste a lot better. And then put them into little baggies so that you can just throw one into your purse or briefcase so that if you do run into trouble, you're going to miss a meal or you do need a snack, you're covered. You're not going to get in trouble. You've got your little baggie full of nuts with you. So there's such an easy swap. Now the next one's kind of interesting because this was a food that I really thought was like nature's perfect food. And I would never have believed that 70% of the people reacted to this till I started to see it. I mean, I looked again at hundreds and hundreds of food sensitivity tests, and then I also asked a bunch of my peers if they were seeing the same things, and they said, yep, 70% of the people that I saw were reacting to eggs. And I kind of scratch my head and go, what's up with this? Now, here's why I think this is happening. Number one, a lot of us were vaccinated growing up, and a lot of the vaccines actually use egg protein in them. So that's one thing. The next thing is you are what you eat. You are what you eat. All right. So if you're feeding cows and pigs all sorts of allergenic stuff like corn and some of the other foods, you're getting some of that too. So that's another thing. And then the other one is, as we're trying to eat healthier, not eat dessert for breakfast, like some of the obvious choices that are breakfast. What is up with most of these breakfast foods? My gosh, they are totally dessert. And we'll get to those in a little bit. But if you are eating eggs for breakfast, a lot of people will sit there and they'll go, okay, I'm gonna eat healthy. I'll have egg whites for breakfast. I'm gonna give you a little heads up if you do find that eggs work for you. And I find for a lot of people, after you go through, remember that 3-week healing process that I told you about that lets your body cool down and your immune system cool down, the inflammation come down. I find with a lot of people that after that time, it took me about 6 months to be able to start eating eggs again. I can incorporate them back in. but you'll want to eat the whole egg. And best is to eat it soft boiled or poached, because you actually absorb more of the protein if you also eat the yolk. And the yolk is where all the great stuff is. It's got phosphatidylcholine. It's great for you. So bear that in mind too. But in the interim, now that I pulled out probably something that was a quick protein source for you or a quick breakfast, let me tell you my number one swap, and not only my number one swap, but my biggest needle mover. In fact, I had one gal who said, "Okay, JJ, I heard everything you say. I heard everything you said, and I only did one thing." I'm like, okay. I only did one thing, and that was I replaced a meal a day with a Virgin Diet shake. And she goes, I lost weight. I feel better. I have more energy. And I think for a lot of people, there's a couple things. Number one, the studies show that people who replace a meal a day with a high quality meal replacement shake, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, lose more weight and keep it off. But also, if that happens to be breakfast, when you look at what most people are eating for breakfast, it really is dessert. I mean, think about it. That muffin and latte, that's a cupcake and a shake. I mean, look what the muffin is wrapped in. My gosh. If a cupcake didn't have frosting, it would have the same amount of sugar and carbs as the muffin did. So don't fool yourself with the healthy morning muffin. That's like crazy. I remember I was doing a comparison between one of these healthy morning muffins and two Hostess cupcakes, and they had the same amount of carbs and sugar. I'm like, oh my gosh, crazy. Or even the cereal with skim milk, the orange juice with the bananas. I mean, you've like basically had the sugar load of a couple ice cream cones for breakfast. For breakfast. And you know what's so bad about that? Well, there's a whole lot of stuff. But remember early on, I said food is information. When you start the day with basically a couple of ice cream cones, the message is to your body is like, okay, start my blood sugar on a crazy rock and roll, because blood sugar is going to go up, then insulin's going to come out and pound it back down. That's going to make you hungry within 2 to 3 hours. You should be able to go 4 to 6 hours before you need to eat again, because you're accessing stored fat for fuel. You shouldn't feel like you're hungry in 2 to 3 hours. That's craziness. And the message to your body is store fat. I don't want to tell my body to store fat. Do you want to tell your body to store fat? And it's like store fat and get inflamed and be tired. Yikes, terrible. By the way, the average person on the Virgin Diet drops 7 pounds in the first week. Now, not every week, and that's not everybody. If you're weight loss resistant, we'll probably bring that up in some of the questions, because it always comes up that that won't happen for you. But I've worked, I mean, we've had so many people now post, and 7 pounds is about the average. And that's because you're getting rid of inflammation so quickly. And some of those cravings, because you tend to crave the very foods that are hurting you, those cravings that you're getting, they go away in a matter of days. Now, the first couple days, they might be a little bit, you might get them a bit, but I want you to reframe that and go, oh, this is awesome. If you're craving a food, it's usually a sign you're intolerant to it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what you should put into a shake, because I don't want you to turn this into an adult milkshake, all right? So obviously you're not going to have a whey shake or a milk protein shake or an egg protein shake, and soy's coming up next. You're not going to have a soy shake. So I look for shakes made out of pea protein, some of the different vegan proteins. I tend to use pea as my major one. Or this is the new kid on the block here, defatted beef protein, which is amazing because it has the nutrition of eggs without the reactivity. People do not get reactive to it at all, and it has the mouthfeel of whey, so it really tastes like a milkshake. Awesome. So those tend to be my two ways. If you're vegan, because I always say the Virgin Diet is agnostic, so if you're vegan, you can go with the plant-based shake. If you're paleo, you can go with the defatted beef shake. If you're somewhere in the middle, you can mix them together, which is what I do. You know, we got something for everyone. Virgin Diet's agnostic. It's really looking at food intolerance and how you react to these different foods, so that you can figure out which foods work for you and which don't, so you can customize a diet that will work for you for the long haul. So you got to start with a good shake mix. 5 grams of sugar or less. Less is best. The less, the better. No artificial sweeteners, obviously, and we'll be getting to sugar in a little bit. And then if you can have extra fiber in there, that's a bonus. If you have vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and plant-based nutrients in there, that's a bonus. And then what you're going to add in, I use So Delicious, dairy-free, almond, coconut, or cashew milk, and get the unsweetened, right? Get the unsweetened kind. I'll throw in extra fiber, and then I also throw in either some chia seeds or some freshly ground flaxseed meal. You can put in, this is my big secret that I just love, avocado. And by the way, you can make, and we've got it in the Virgin Diet Cookbook, this killer chocolate mousse with avocado. I mean, avocado is the most amazing food. And it makes you have great hair, skin, and nails too. Double bonus. So I'll use a little avocado. You can throw in some spinach or kale. You don't even taste spinach when you throw it in. It'll make it look green, but you won't taste it. And then some low sugar impact fruit. So that would be berries would be great there. Lately, I've been really focusing. I've been doing, well, this morning, I had a vanilla chai shake, and I threw in my avocado because I was doing some So Delicious almond milk and a little chia seeds and some extra fiber. So good. I used vanilla defatted beef protein, and I used chai plant protein, so I mixed it all together. Okay. So that gives you an idea on the shake. And again, this is like the easiest thing you can do. I literally I now travel with a NutriBullet, which is like the magic bullet on steroids. I travel with that. I travel with a septic pack coconut or almond milk. I travel with my shake mix that I've stirred in extra fiber and some chia seeds in. And I also usually will throw in some raw cacao nibs. Amazing, huge source of fiber, great nutrients from the cacao. So I travel with that, and if I'm not going far, I throw some avocados in my suitcase, although they don't always travel well. So I'm just warning you, put them in plastic baggies so you don't get like an avocado explosion in your suitcase. All right, let's go on. So there's a very pretty shake. Let's talk about soy. Oh, I like to say there is no joy in soy. And soy is an interesting one because, and I think now we're starting to kind of wake up about soy. Um, it used to be that when I'd say, oh my gosh, stop the soy, people were like, what? Now I think we kind of know better. But why do I pick on soy? Well, for the most part, 99% now of the soy out there, and the corn too for that matter, is genetically modified. So you have the genetic modification issue with it. But even if it wasn't genetically modified, let's look at soy. It's only a couple thousand years old in our food supply, which might sound like a long time if you look at like how old maybe diet soda is. But realistically, it's really, we only started eating dairy and grains 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. This is new to our food supply, something our body doesn't really know how to handle well. And when we started using it in Asian cultures, they were using it to get nitrogen back in the soil. And then they found if they heavily, and emphasize this, okay, heavily fermented it, they could reduce the anti-nutrients in it enough so that you could eat it. Now, that means if you're doing something like snacking on edamame, this is a problem because it's not fermented. So if you do find that you can tolerate soy, it needs to be heavily fermented and organic, non-GMO. All right? But what we're getting is a lot of genetically modified soy protein in things, and that is problematic. And one of the big things that it does is it causes what we call endocrine disruption, which just means it messes with your hormones, especially it's estrogenic, so it can raise estrogen. That's not good for boys. And also we found that it can cause lead to dementia, men and women. They did a study on Japanese men living in Hawaii, and even, they were eating tofu 3 times a week, and they actually had a higher rate of smaller brains, higher rate of dementia. But the big place it hits is your thyroid. And whenever I think of that, I think of Bryn. And this is Bryn's before, and Bryn's lost over 100 pounds. That's not even her total after, because, it's like I'd have to catch up with her all the time to keep getting her afters. And Bryn heard me talking, and she was literally sitting in the audience crying, and I'm glad I didn't see her doing this because it would have really thrown me off my game. But Bryn was sitting there crying because she'd been eating all these foods that I'm telling you about in an effort to be healthy, and she couldn't understand why she kept gaining weight. And she was so hypothyroid because she was eating soy. She'd become a vegetarian, and she was basically living on soy. And it was interesting because we didn't actually lower her calories. We just swapped the soy out for other clean sources of protein. And weight loss was just crazy for her. It was just effortless, but was bigger for her that I really love is that, you know, weight loss, we'll look at this and go, okay, I want to lose weight, or I want to have more energy, or I want to get my joint pain gone, or this bloating gone, or be able to focus. But really, then what will that do for you? That's the real key. It's not about the weight loss. It's not about the fatigue. It's like, okay, now you have great energy, or now you have great focus. Now you've lost the weight. You've got the confidence. Then what happened? So what happened with Bryn is she actually quit her job, started her own business, dumped the crappy apartment she was in, moved into a place she loved, got a great boyfriend. I mean, she basically started living her dreams. She got her dreams back. How cool is that? I just love it. And I just want to give you a little heads up again. I kind of went and glossed over this whole idea that Virgin Diet's agnostic. If you are a vegan and you've been using soy, I do find with vegans and vegetarians, they tend to have more challenges with food intolerance because a lot of the proteins that you're relying on tend to be more reactive. They tend to be things we become more intolerant on. So I do have a special vegan plan here for you, and same with paleo. So if you're paleo or vegan or anywhere in between, I got you covered. But it's actually even more important for you to be jumping in with this. All right. Now, I kind of saved the top 3 for last, and so you may be tracking with me right now going, I'm good, I'll give up the peanuts and the corn and the eggs. Sure, I'd love to do a shake. Okay, the soy's gone. And now I'm going to tell you to give up your bread, and you're like, JJ, come on. But hey, in the last year or two, it has really been out there about gluten. And I know I'm still someone got on me today about it, but I'm sorry. I believe we all owe it to ourselves to pull gluten out of our diet for at least 3 weeks and see how we feel. There is not one single test that's going to look at all the different ways that you are impacted by gluten. There isn't, because you've got immune issues, you've got genetic issues, and you've got hormonal issues that all can create food intolerance. There's no one test there. You know what the best test is? The best test costs no money. All you have to do is pull these foods out for 3 to 4 weeks and see how you feel. And I find even after the first week, it's mind-blowing for people. It is rare that I hear from someone that they don't notice a difference when they go off gluten. It's that dramatic. I mean, there's a reason that we have a book called Wheat Belly, right? We've all heard of it. There's a reason we have Grain Brain. Both are big New York Times bestsellers books, because gluten makes you bloated. Gluten gives you brain fog, messes with your brain, absolutely addictive. I had someone tell me who hadn't eaten any gluten for months, and he said, you know what, JJ, I went out to dinner. I thought, I'm gonna try some pasta. He said, I felt drunk. I had to have someone else drive home. Gluten is a drug. Just like 2 of the next foods I'm going to share with you. They're called glutamorphines. It has an opiate-like effect on your brain. Not only that, it's super starchy, so it raises insulin. 2 slices of wheat bread raise insulin more than sugar. And when you raise insulin, your body hears this: store fat. I do not want my body to hear that. I don't want to tell my body that, right? I don't think you want to either. And it also can make the gut more permeable. It can make your gut more permeable. When your gut is more permeable, you start to react to even more food. So I know I think I might be a little more fired up right now because we had an article come out today and we had someone go, oh, you need the nutrients in gluten. I'm like, what? No, you don't. No, you don't. Believe me, it's just 3 weeks, right? You can go without bread for 3 weeks, right? And if you're thinking right now, I can't go without bread for 3 weeks, JJ, then you know you have a problem with gluten. You know you're addicted to gluten, okay? All right, we're going to put the bread down. So I talked about gluten being a drug, but I got to tell you, the #1 drug of choice worldwide is sugar. No question. I mean, come on, little 5-year-olds aren't smoking and drinking, but they are having juice and cookies. The #1 drug of choice is sugar. And I'm just going to seed a little bit what's coming. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's coming around Halloween this year. I've got my sugar impact diet. That's all I'm saying. I can't say more. It's killing me. But anyway, more sugar's coming because it has been the #1 question. And I will tell you, in the Virgin Diet, I'm going to make this simple for you to get the sugar down out of your diet. I promise, because I know that you're hooked, and it's a drug. No question, it's a drug. But remember I told you that we have all these swaps, and for gluten, by the way, let me just back up a little bit on soy and gluten, because I realized I told you I'd give you swaps, and then I got all fired up and I didn't give you any. That wasn't very nice. For soy, if you're using soy as your protein source, I think lentils are like one of the greatest foods on the planet. Lentils, quinoas, nuts and seeds, and then of course, some of the different vegan proteins. I use a pea-based protein. I saw that my buddy Bryn, I love you, Bryn, just tweeted. And Bryn, I'm so proud of you. I could not be more proud of you for just the courage. And Bryn has been so inspiring out there with so many people. So go, Bryn, go. She's just one of my heroes out there. And then with gluten, so let's say that you're eating pasta. Okay, so a great pasta is Andean Dreams quinoa pasta. I'm doing a shout out for this gal. She actually goes to Peru, and she has now created farmers collectives, and she's helping these people build villages with this quinoa. She is a wonderful woman. So Andean Dreams quinoa pasta, or spaghetti squash pasta, or shirataki noodles. And if you like tortillas, paleo wraps, coconut tortillas are unbelievable. They rock. They're amazing. So, I mean, there's so many solutions now out there for this. It's not even hard anymore. And even for sugar, there's options. Monk fruit, erythritol, stevia, xylitol. You can blend all these together. I actually created a product called Virgin Sprinkles that has a blend of these, and it's got no weird aftertaste, because sometimes you'll use one that's got a funky aftertaste. But I got to do a shout out here. I can't help myself. I'll try not to rant too much. But it's about agave. Now, I still say this because I'm still surprised when I hear this, but you know, agave is being touted as this big health food. It is anything but a health food. It is not a health food, okay? Repeat after me. Agave is not a health food. Here's why. We've all heard about high fructose corn syrup, right? And we all know that high fructose corn syrup is bad. Why? Well, the deal is actually high fructose corn syrup really is kind of the same as table sugar in terms of how much fructose and glucose it has, and it's highly processed. Okay, yes. But you know what? Fructose is the problem that we all need to look out for, and we actually get more fructose in agave than high fructose corn syrup. In fact, agave is the highest single source of fructose. It's 70 to 90% fructose, and here's why that's a problem. Because you might have heard, oh, fructose is good, it doesn't raise blood sugar. Well, that might sound good, but here's the deal. Fructose doesn't raise blood sugar, which means it doesn't tell your body you ate. It doesn't raise any of those satiety signals. So you eat fructose in something, your body goes, oh, doesn't know you ate. It's super sweet. And when you eat sweet, you want what? More sweet. And it goes straight. I want you to picture this. It's beeline into the liver. And you know what it tells your body to do there? Make fat. So you're hungry, you want more sweet, and you're making fat. Trifecta of bad, right? So when you see these things that say sweetened with agave, run away fast. Again, if you want to swap, don't be fooled by the all natural, because I get that question all the time. JJ, it's all natural. It's honey. It's raw brown sugar. It's agave. It's natural sugar, raises insulin. Okay, except for fructose, it doesn't. It goes straight to the liver and makes fat. But regular sugar, it's going to raise insulin, tell your body to store fat. And most of these sugars have fructose and glucose in them. So on one side, they're raising insulin and making you store fat. And on the other side, they're just going straight to the liver and making fat. It's a whole big fat-making machinery. Not for you, okay? You are walking away from that. And if you do need sweet, my big thing is let's retrain your taste buds to appreciate the natural sweetness of berries, of cinnamon, of vanilla, of sweet potatoes. All right, let's do that. Let's get off of this crazy super sweet stuff that we've got out there. I mean, do you realize that these yogurts that are being touted as healthy because they no sugar added, they use fruit juice concentrate, have 26 grams of sugar? That's basically an ice cream cone and a half of sugar. That is craziness, craziness. All right. Let's breathe and let's go to the next one. Let's go to my drug of choice, shall we? Because we've already decided gluten's a drug, right? And we know that sugar is a drug. Do you know sugar is actually more addictive than morphine? They gave rats a choice between cocaine and morphine, cocaine, and there was one other drug, heroin, I think. Like sugar's more addictive than these. Like, oh my gosh! But they gave rats a choice between cocaine and it was cocaine or morphine, but a drug. Okay, they gave them a choice of one drug or Oreo cookies, and the rats chose the Oreo cookies. All right, so sugar. We are going to swap out that sugar, get it down, but let's talk a little bit about my problem, okay? And I think you'll relate because I got to tell you, you might be tracking you. Okay, I'll give up the bread. I'll give up the bread. I promise. I don't want my gut to be leakier. I don't want it. I don't want grain brain and wheat belly. I can swap out those sugars and use monk fruit, erythritol, xylitol, stevia. I can start to retrain my taste buds to appreciate natural sweetness. I can do this. And then you say, but you have to give up your cheese. Okay, let's talk through this, all right? Let's talk through this because this for me was my kryptonite. I will tell you in all honesty that I was using just a little bit of foamy milk every day on my Americano, just a little bit. I wasn't eating anything else. I'd really gotten over the rest of it, even though I absolutely adore Greek yogurt and feta and goat. I mean, adore, love, okay? But even this little bit, this held me back. Remember how I talked about the acne and the gas and bloating? So this acne, years and years and years and years and years. I pull out the dairy, my skin clears up in days. Days. Do you know? I mean, in a way, you're like so happy and so mad that you've gone through what 30 years of acne and so much money and all these toxic chemicals, and you clear it up in days by pulling dairy out. Oh my gosh, crazy. You know, it held me back for years, and this is why I've really got to blow this myth that makes me nuts. And someone just posted on my Facebook page today when we were talking about gluten. They're like, everything in moderation. You know what? This is what I want you to think of when you see that everything in moderation. Really? If there was a bunch of gasoline on the floor, would you go take this spark over there? Would you? No, you would not do that, because if you did that, poof, right? It'd be crazy. You would have a massive fire. When you've got a food intolerance, a little bit of foamy milk on your Americano creates a spark on gasoline. It creates a massive explosion for you. A little bit creates a big problem. Moderation is a myth with food intolerance. You can't have a little bit of gluten. Would they tell a celiac person to have a little bit of gluten? No. Would you tell someone who is an alcoholic to have a little shot of vodka? No. I want you to think about it the same way, because moderation is a myth. And when I pulled this stuff out, this became effortless for me. Effortless for me. I had great energy. I had amazing focus. And you know, I never realized how important that would be. And you know, I certainly needed it. So with the Virgin Diet, when it came out, I mean, it's a ton of work to bring a book out and really get it out there. And I, again, as I discovered this information, I was like, I am getting this out there. I am getting this out there because I know that if you will just take this leap of faith right now, if you're listening and you're going, okay, this is starting to make sense. I'm connecting the dots. I've got gas and bloating. I've got joint pain. I've got headaches. I've been doing this. I've been counting calories. It's not working. If you take that leap of faith, it's incredible. And so I got to get this information out. And so I did a show for public television. I did all of this work out there with partners to get the book out. I mean, it's a ton of work and a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and I was staying on top of it. And then this crazy thing happened like the month before. So my son went out walking one evening, and it was dusk. It was dusk. And he went out walking, and he was crossing the street in our neighborhood, and it's, you know, it's neighborhood, right? But it's weird here in Palm Desert. This is like ridiculous. We have this thing called the Starry Night Ordinance, so we can see the stars. So they keep the street lights dimmed, but it's dusk, and he's crossing the street, and he was wearing black. And this car going 40 miles an hour hits him. And I wasn't there. I just, someone immediately pulled up after that and blocked him. And I mean, this person, neighbor, saved him. But this woman gets out, looks, gets back in her car and drives off. I mean, it's still to this day, I'm like stunned. Anyway, he's airlifted to the local hospital. And we're just fortunate to find out. We drove by my other son and his dad drove by the accident scene. It was a couple blocks from our house, and they see this accident scene, and the paramedics said they airlifted a kid who looks just like your son, because my two sons are a year apart in age, to the hospital. So we race over there, and they tell us that my son, he's got a torn aorta, which kills about 90% of the people. They die on the scene with a torn aorta. That's what killed Lady Di. 13 fractures, I mean, bones sticking out of everywhere, skull fractures, multiple brain bleeds. He's in a coma, nothing. And they look at us and they go, you got to let him go. He's just too far gone. Now, I'm a mom. I'm a parent. He's still alive. We're looking at them, and they tell us that there is a doctor who can perform the surgery he needs, but he'd have to be airlifted, and he probably wouldn't survive the airlift. And if he survives the airlift, he probably wouldn't survive the surgery. And if he survives the surgery, he probably would never wake up, and he'd never be the same person. And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, we're going for this. Are you kidding me? And I think anyone in my situation would. But he was in a coma for weeks. He was in the hospital for 4.5 months, and I stood there, right where the picture you're seeing right now. I stood there looking at my son, and I went, there is nothing I'm not going to do for you. You're going to be 100%, 110%. You're going to be better than you ever were before. This is going to be the best thing that ever happened to any of us. And I was fortunate in a lot of the things that happened there, and the friends that I have and what we were able to do. In fact, it was actually on the Doctors Today with what we've done for him. But I will tell you that I was launching my PBS show, launching the New York Times book, and it wasn't a choice. I am the financial support for my family. And when you're now looking at a son in the ICU for weeks, in the hospital for months, and who knows what he's going to need, and you know that you're going to get whatever he needs for him, you can't fail. I couldn't fail. I had to pull it off. And people looked at me and they go, you must be superhuman. Because I would get there at 5:36 in the morning when the doctors were doing grand rounds. I was there till 9 o'clock at night and go home, sleep. I was staying right near the hospital. I was doing everything that I needed to do to be healthy, because you can't get sick and walk into the ICU. And that's the thing. The reason I was able to pull this off was I'm not superhuman. I'm super healthy. And I was able to do this. And I think back and I think, what if I hadn't been? You never know when something like this is going to happen, or an opportunity. I mean, it doesn't just have to be a crisis, or an opportunity. And are you ready? Or is your health holding you back? Is your weight holding you back? I look at this and I know that had I not been ready, my son wouldn't be here. And I would have lost, my dream, my big dream. I mean, there's nothing more important in your life than your kids, who are now amazing adults. And that whole thing I told you about, my son's going to be 110%. So there's Bryce to the left of me, and there's Grant, big grin, to the right of me. And they're amazing kids, and we are all better for it. If you feel like your health's holding you back, you're not where you want to be, my Virgin Diet Challenge is your opportunity to turn that around in 3 weeks. I know so often the biggest obstacle for changing your life is just getting started. It's so easy to say you'll do it tomorrow. But, let's be real. We all know when tomorrow is going to come. So I created a special group challenge to ensure that you don't fall into this trap, because you're going to have a real start date. And by the way, if you're already thinking of all these reasons why you can't do this right now, oh, it's my birthday, I'm going on vacation, it's Thursday. You know what? That is your food intolerant, addicted to one of those 7, if not all of them, evil twin talking. I'm going to tell you that those are all of the reasons you need to do this right now. Remember Michelle? The Virgin Diet Framework makes it easy to succeed no matter what the situation. I mean, I've had people do this program on a cruise, during Halloween, over the holidays, on their 50th birthday. Now is the time for you to take control of your cravings and your health so that you can live that life you're truly meant to live, with full-on focus, great energy, and massive self-confidence. Okay, so the group challenge has a start date. So important. It has a start date. July 21 starts prep week, and week 1, cycle 1, starts July 28th. And we're going to have an amazing community of people. My Virgin Diet coaches are going to be in there, and everyone joining the challenge will all be in a forum where we can inspire and support each other. I'm going to be leading group calls, and you're going to get all of your questions answered. Plus, we have some fun contests lined up to celebrate your top swaps, recipes, strategies, and success stories. And you're going to be able to win some incredibly cool prizes. You get a ticket to the Virgin Diet Group Challenge when you sign up today for the online program. So the group challenge is built around my Virgin Diet online program. It's what we're going to be using throughout the group challenge. And the online program is my deep dive into the Virgin Diet, where I give you more tools, advanced strategies, and techniques, that just couldn't fit into the limited space of the book. I also included some insider information from a few of my brilliant expert pals, including Donna Gates, John Assaraf, Marcel Pick, and the Ostrovskys of Be Well Buzz. Part of the Virgin Diet online program is my audio series, where I'm going to walk you through the 3 cycles of the program. I call this my walking tour, because I literally do. I walk you through the program just as if I was working with you one-on-one. Now, during the group challenge, you're going to listen to each cycle at the start of the week so you know exactly what to do. And of course, if you have any questions, my awesome Virgin Diet coaches are going to be in the forum right there, ready to help. Plus, you're going to use my workbook to track your progress. Now, what you'll do is you're going to start with this food intolerance quiz, so you know the impact these foods are having on you. Plus, you're going to take your beginning waist and hip measurements and your weight. And you're going to track that all along, because then you can submit your success story and be in the running for huge prizes. The workbook also has shopping lists that you can download and take to the store with you. Again, this is easy to do, easy to shop for. In fact, we actually did this little test, and you save money by eating by the Virgin Diet. Now, one of my #1 success strategies is to journal. So I've included journal pages so you can track what you're eating and how you're feeling. And I find this so empowering when you connect the dots between what you're eating and your weight and how you feel. It totally changes the conversation around food and cheating and being good or bad. Thing of the past. One of the contests we do during the group challenge is to share your top swaps. I've included a bunch in the online program. You'll never wonder what you can eat, whether you're on the road or cooking for your family. And by the way, I've mentioned this a couple times, but I also include these specialty guides. So if you're a vegan or paleo, athletes, family, I make it really easy to make the Virgin Diet work for you. And when you get to cycle 3, I add an exercise, and I think you're going to love how I approach it. I have a very different approach to exercise. Now, the #1 reason people don't exercise is, well, they don't have time, which I always say, make time, especially when you hear how I do it. And #2 is they don't want to go to the gym. Well, I'm going to show you how to get fit in just minutes a day, wherever you are and whatever your starting point is. Plus, I've also included exercise videos, a training webinar, and an online manual with workout plans and tracking sheets. Now, wherever you are, like let's say you're a total beginner, advanced, I've got you covered all along here. And I'm also going to have you share some of your favorite fitness tips during the challenge. So let me just share one of my favorites right now. This is my top tip for getting and staying fit. Ready? Hang out, find a friend who's fitter than you are. That's easy. Oh, and speaking of your friends, so do you know anyone who's been struggling with their weight, or maybe they're inflamed or tired or addicted to food, or they just don't feel as good as they should? So I've got something amazing for you and for them. because I found that having a great circle of support is critical for success. So I decided that when you start on the online program and get your group challenge ticket, you can invite a friend along for just $10. They're going to get a ticket to the group challenge and full access to the online program just like you, including the walking tour audios, the workbook, the expert interviews, the specialty guides, the fitness program, and my Overcoming Weight Loss Resistance webinar, where I talk about all the other factors like hormones and toxicity and genetics that can get in the way of you losing weight. Remember, I told you I taught this program for doctors for years. It's called Overcoming Weight Loss Resistance. That's really my world and my specialty. So your friend pays a $10 admin fee to get registered, and then they're in there with you. It's a total double win. You're doing something awesome for yourself and your best pal. And together, you can uncover your hidden food sensitivity so you can finally lose the weight and feel better fast. And for the first 256 who take action. I always like to reward those people because I'm already seeing, we've got Meg and Brandon and Howard and Shelly and Carol. I'm already seeing people jumping in here. So for the first 256 that raise their hand, say, yes, I am in, you also get my $97 In the Kitchen with JJ DVD series and recipe guide. I'm sending this to you, by the way. You are getting this sent to your house. And what this is totally fun. It's me in the kitchen with some of my favorite health experts and celebrities, including Dr. Mark Hyman, Cynthia Pasquella, Marielle Hemingway, and Dr. Sarah Gottfried. And by the way, we did this, I still think, I mean, it's still, I remember when it happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is happening. So I'm in the kitchen with Mark Hyman, and Mark lights the salmon on fire. I call it Salmon on Fire. And you have to see this episode. It is hilarious. And he totally keeps us cool. Totally keeps us cool. Hey, Trina and Terry, you're in with getting the In the Kitchen. I see you. You're getting the In the Kitchen DVD series and manual. Again, I'm going to send that straight to your house. That's $97 right there. So there's no risk, by the way. This is really important. So if you want to be one of those people to get the In the Kitchen set too, you click the button below, or if you are listening on the phone, you're going, oh, there's no button, JJ, just go to jjvirgin.com/group challenge. That's jjvirgin.com/group challenge. Okay, so I mentioned there's no risk. This program is covered by my 100% total satisfaction guarantee. You have 60 days to go through the program, so you go through it, and if you aren't like totally satisfied, let us know. We're not going to ask any questions. Just say, hey, I want my money back. We give you your money back. So there is nothing standing in your way of getting started right now. Again, all you need to do is click on the button, and you're going to be one of those people who's going to get our special In the Kitchen program too. So again, online program and group challenge ticket, that's a $25 bonus. First 256 get the In the Kitchen, and you get to bring a friend along. How cool is that? And it's just $97. So I want to pause because I promised I was going to take some questions, and I have all these questions coming in over here. I'm slightly ADD, and there's like all this stuff coming at me from all these different angles, and I'm like, oh my gosh, whoa. So I'm going to take some questions because there's been a bunch of them coming in, and then I have a couple other reminders and little things to tell you about, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so I'm going to scroll through here, and one of them, let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones to choose from. I can't stand it. Okay, but Diana, I'm going to do this real quick for you because you say you recommend quinoa pasta by Ancient Grains, but it's predominantly corn. Why is that okay? No. I recommend quinoa pasta by Andean Dreams. That is the only one out there. I'm giving it a huge shout out that doesn't have corn in it. And why the heck did they put corn in the pasta? This makes me crazy because they do this quinoa pasta. It's so good, and then it's all corn. So that's marketing. Kayla says, what should I choose between meals if I'm super hungry? Okay. So here's the deal with that, and this is an awesome question. And what I do is I teach you to eat by the Virgin Diet plate. Now, you should be able to go 4 to 6 hours before you need to eat again if you're getting clean, lean protein, healthy fats, low impact carbs, and loads of non-starchy vegetables. If you've really kind of made your body more of a sugar burner, you've been eating all the time, this might take a little time to stretch out. In between meals, I have you drink water, and you can even throw some fiber in there. But you might find to start with that you have to stretch it from 2 hours to 3 hours, from 3 hours to 4 hours. And then I also in the program have a whole bunch of snacks. But I mean, obvious ones like, hummus. We have, by the way, in the Virgin Diet Cookbook, crazy hummus and guacamole recipes. We have a guacamole with jalapenos and pumpkin seeds that is out of this world. But I mean, my very favorite is to do like crudité and hummus. I just think that is so awesome. You can do a Virgin Diet bar. I actually made them for myself so I could take them on the road with me. You can do half of a shake. You can take some turkey, roll it up with a little bit of guacamole. You can take those nut baggies that I talked about, where you just take some dehydrated or low roasted nuts and throw them in a baggie. Vital Choice has salmon jerky. So got a lot of recommendations in there, but one of the things I tell you is to just keep stuff with you. But again, your big goal is to eat by the Virgin Diet plate and to be able to start stretching that time out between meals. Okay, so Lucia asks about carrageenan, and So Delicious is now pulling out all the carrageenan, and I want to tell you it's because of us. So yay for us. For posting that so often. They actually use, there's two forms of carrageenan, one's bad and one's not bad, and the problem is, like, how the heck would you know? And so it just created all this confusion. But the one they use is grass, generally regarded as safe. However, they are pulling it out, and you should, all their products now, all their milks are pulling it out. It's just a matter if the store's gone through it yet, so you should be able to find that in there. So Barbara says, on every great food plan I run across, I have a major food allergy: milk, walnuts, almonds, tomatoes, shellfish, and some other fish, olives. I prefer to be a vegan or at least not eat much meat. I have a lot of weight to lose. What's a girl to do? Well, Barbara, I have the vegan plan for you on the program. So what's a girl to do? Do the Virgin Diet and just follow the vegan part of the Virgin Diet. And you say you prefer to be a vegan or at least not eat too much meat, or at least not eat much meat. So, if you can get in some wild fish, even better. And by the way, with the contest, this is so cool. We have wild things. And I'll tell you this story real quick. So Jeff, I know Jeff is listening on vacation. I love this. So Jeff bought my book. And we got introduced because he has a wild fish company and also has grass-fed beef. And someone said, hey, my buddy Joe Paul said, hey, you guys should know each other. And he goes, oh, yeah, I have your book. I'm like, great. He goes, I never opened it. I'm like, Jeff. In fact, Jeff was really the inspiration behind the group challenge, because I'm like, oh, my gosh, you never opened it. And what I didn't know about Jeff, because I just hadn't met him in person yet, was that at the time I was talking to Jeff, he was 316 pounds. He'd been as high as 377. Maybe it was a little higher than that. He's probably trying to tell me right now and it was higher. And he's lost 40 pounds so far. And this was a total sugar addict. I remember at first Jeff said, well, I don't know what I'm going to eat. I go, you own a wild seafood company, Jeff. Anyway, he's got some packages he's putting into the challenge, which are going to be so fun. So if you win the transformation package, you're getting this wow seafood package. Yay. And I see that Lisa and Susan and Sharon and Selena and Melissa and Darlene and Louise and Gregory, I could keep going, are jumping in too. So I'm so excited that you guys are all going to be in the program with me. So excited. So anyway, Barbara, if you can eat some wild fish too, that would be awesome. But yeah, this is all built for you. So come on board. Come with us. The Virgin Diet calls for more meat, but I have high LDL. Is there a way to be on the Virgin Diet to reduce inflammation without risking raising my LDL? Oh my gosh, I got to tell you, LDL is not raised by meat. LDL is raised by sugar, especially by fructose. That is key. It's classic. Sugar is what's creating the problem there, not grass-fed beef. If you're eating factory meat, eating corn, problem. But if you're eating wild fish, grass-fed beef, legumes, nuts and seeds, loads of non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats, you are going to lower your LDL, because I see it all the time. You are not going to raise your LDL. You're going to reduce inflammation, and you're going to lower the bad LDL. And we could have a whole conversation, and I know I have to watch the time. I know I'm kind of like, my team's like, you're overboard. But I do want to address one that I promised Jeff, Wild Fish Jeff. I promised him I would answer this question. And we got on a rant about it. Oh my gosh, there are so many, there are so many questions here. So Jeff's wanted to ask about cheat meals, and we got on this. He sent me an email the other day and goes, "What do you think about this idea of these cheat meals?" And remember, I said, like, with food intolerance, a little bit creates this firestorm of inflammation, but also gets you right back into that addictive cycle. So if there's a food that doesn't work for you, first of all, you're going to hurt, you're going to ache. I had someone post on our Facebook. She was re-challenging gluten. She goes, "I had a couple bites of a sandwich, and I have horrible joint gas and bloating. The next day I had joint pain. Do I have to keep going?" It's like, no. The minute you feel that, stop. But, the idea of a cheat day when a food doesn't work for you doesn't make any sense at all. And I think it's because he got introduced to this diet where you ate like diet cookies one day and whatever you want the next. I'm like, are you kidding? Who comes up with this garbage? Craziness. All right, I had to breathe. Someone here wants to know, how do I bring my friend? Okay, so here's how you bring your friend. You don't bring them kicking and screaming. What happens is when you register, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So Jill and Mary and Ann and Laura, all these, they're emailing me, they're Skyping me, everybody joining, and I'm just so excited you guys are all on board. And again, I want to remind you, if you don't see the button to sign up, so that you can be one of the first 256 and get the $97 In the Kitchen with JJ fun DVD series delivered to your door with the recipe manual. You can also go to jjvirgin.com/group challenge. And so someone's asking here, how do they bring their friend? So here's what we're doing for that. And you probably already have a friend in mind, I'm betting you. And so what you do is you can either call them, and you could also have them listen to the replay of the webinar if you want. But you can also send them, we've written an email, we've scripted one for you. So you can also just send them the email too. And the big thing I would say is, hey, I'm doing this and I'd really love to do it with you. And again, it's a $10 registration fee. What a gift. I mean, what a cool thing that you're able to give to them. Yay, I just love that. Okay. Oh my gosh. So there's just so many questions here. I'm trying to figure out which ones I should pick. And I will tell you, because someone wanted to know if it was more expensive, and it was really one Friday night, I went to the grocery store with a pal, and we got 2 carts. One we did Virgin Diet, and one we did just as if you were trying to eat healthy, but, not going, you weren't perfect. Who's perfect? And, oh my gosh, I just figured we'd be about even. No, we were not even. It costs 38 more bucks to eat the non-Virgin Diet way. When you're eating non-processed foods, whole foods that aren't weird, by the way, your family will like what you're eating. They're going to ask why they're eating so healthy. It's cheaper. You save money. It's incredible. And I had someone say, is there something different or to add if I'm training for a half marathon? Well, we actually have a guide in the program for you for athletes. So we've got them. And then another person wanted to know, their husband's a diabetic and she's struggling to feed him right. Is this program good for him? Not only is it good for him, this program is right for him. This is a great program for someone who is struggling with insulin resistance or diabetes. Great place to start with them. So yes. And someone else wants to know if they're going to have access to the Virgin Diet information even after the challenge is open. Yes. So the online program, you will have that available for you for, I can't really say forever because, at some point, a million years from now, but I mean, it's yes, we just leave that open. So you always have access to the online program. And so again, that's the walking tour, it's the workbook resources. There's actually a lot of extra stuff in there. If you go to the group challenge page, jjvirgin.com/group challenge, or if you hit the button, you'll see all the different stuff. If you scroll down, loads of stuff in there. Way more than what I'm telling you about, because I just kept dreaming up stuff and putting in there. All the things, again, when you write a book, they're like, when I first wrote the Virgin Diet, it was 400 and something pages, and they're like, cut it down. And so there's all these things that you're going, okay, where am I going to put that, right? All these stories, all this stuff. And so that's what the online program is. It's all that, where am I going to put that? All the cool extra stuff that I want you to have. I've been doing this for a while. Actually, I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing it 25 years. I went, actually 30. Wow. Ooh. So that's the online program, and you will have access for that. And then, of course, the group challenge has a start date. I'm going to keep emphasizing the group challenge has a start date. It is so important. But I got to also tell you, if you can't start on time, it is not a crisis. You can always be a week or two. I want you to start on time. I want you to start on time, and I don't want you to give me some crazy excuse. But if for some reason, you want to bring a friend, and let's say they're out of the country, or, and they're hiking up some mountain and there's no access to anything, no phone access, and you can't even tell them about it for 2 or 3 weeks, they can still start. Okay, so, you can still start if you can't start on time. And the program will be open, and all those cool resources will be there for you. And I see Teresa and Victoria and Gina and Deborah and Elaine. So if you're one of the first 256, you'll also get that In the Kitchen with JJ DVD series and recipe book from all of those cool people. Okay, I am going to just pick one more. Let me see. Okay, I eliminated sugar from my diet, but I find it very difficult to eliminate salt. I crave the salty snacks. How do I stop this, or do I need to stop? First off, it depends. I'm not concerned about the salt. I'm concerned about what the salty snacks are, and also what kind of salt you're having. If you're doing great salt, like real salt, when I say real salt, it's actually a brand. If you're doing a great mineral sea salt, fabulous. But if you're using like table salt or salty processed snacks, that's an issue. A lot of times we tend to crave salt when we've got an adrenal problem, because salt actually and all those minerals nourish your adrenals. And what I'd say is when you pull the processed foods out, you get all of that extra crappy sodium out. You don't use table salt. And then if you want to use a little bit of sea salt, that's fine. Like I love in fact, I did this last night. Jeff, if you're listening, I made the best fish that you sent me last night, but I have no idea what it was. It's white. I have no idea what kind of fish. Maybe it was halibut. Anyway, it was so delicious, and all I did was I used macadamia nut oil. Oh my gosh, the best. Try cooking. You can use macadamia nut oil with higher heat. It doesn't oxidize. Incredible. I also use it in my salad dressings. And then I just put sea salt. So good. That's it. So don't be afraid of sea salt. Be afraid of table salt, and be afraid of processed foods that are, that are salty. Those are icky. And welcome, Kathleen. All right. I could be with you guys all night, and you're probably going, stop it. I, as you can tell, love this so much. And first off, thank you for being here with me. I so appreciate you taking your time out to be here with me. I'm honored, so honored. And please share this with some friends. Again, nothing breaks my heart more than seeing people who have just given up. They've lost their hope. And I know that they're just following the wrong set of rules, and that it could be so easy. And again, it's just 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, you can be in a totally different place than you are right now. And again, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you don't know if some incredible opportunity is going to show up for you, or some horrible crisis, or anything in between. And are you ready? And again, you can be ready really quickly. So I'm going to be answering more questions, obviously, throughout the challenge on our live calls, and my coaches are going to be in the forum. We're going to be all in there with you, and I'm so excited to see so many of you have registered. And I'm going to remind you, get your friend ticket and bring your friend in, and you're going to be getting that killer $97 bonus, the In the Kitchen DVD series and recipe guide, sent to your house for free. So congrats on that, and congrats on taking fast action. I love that. I want to remind you that this is it. I am not offering the group challenge again this year. This is the last time. So this is your time. Again, I did this so that we would have a start date. When you get the online program for $97, you also get that $25 group challenge bonus ticket, and you get my expert interview series and my Overcoming Weight Loss Resistance webinar. Plus, you get that ticket for a friend, and they get access to the online program as well. And again, someone asked about it. They're in the online program for good. So just want to remind you, we're starting it. We're starting it July 21st with our prep week. and then cycle 1 starts on the 28th. And once you buy, you're going to see how to invite a friend on the thank you page. One of my team's like, explain that. I was like, I don't even know how that works, but here's how it works. Once you buy, once you grab the program for yourself, on the thank you page, it's going to tell you how to invite your friend. So you'll find out how to do that there. So again, we're starting on July 21st with the prep week. July 28th starts cycle 1. That means by mid-August, you're going to be in an entirely different place. Oh, I'm going to take a couple. So I'm going to tell you a little more, and then I'll take a couple more questions, okay? So if you want to, keep sending them on in. I'll stay if you'll stay. How's that? I'll stay if you stay. Anyway, so literally, mid-August, you can be in an entirely different place with your health, with your energy, and your weight. You know, we're put here to do big things. We're put here to do massive, cool stuff. And don't let your health or your weight stand in your way of your dreams, right? Let's do this together. So again, jjvirgin.com/group challenge. Click on that button below. I see that Jean just came in, Monica came in, Kathleen's in. All right, I can't help myself. I'm sorry, I cannot help myself. And oh, Bryn just sent me a message. I need to send you a new picture because I got my dreams back. It's so true. I'm so happy and I'm living an amazing life. Bryn, I just love you so much. So awesome. Okay, I'm going to take a couple more questions. So if you got one, send it on over. So from Kayla, if you had these questions, oh my gosh, you're going to make me choose, Kayla. If you had to choose top 5 needle markers to get the scale to move on the Virgin diet, what would they be? So are you trying to tell me that like not all 7 foods? I'm so glad you brought this up. So here's the deal. Picture this. You are sitting on 7 tacks. Ow, right? Okay. So you go, all right, you know what? I'm going to take 5 tacks away and I'll sit back down. What happens? It still hurts. It still hurts, right? The deal is, you've got to pull the 7 foods, Kayla. You got to pull the 7 foods. It's just 3 weeks. You can do anything for 3 weeks. So that's the biggest. I will tell you that if I was going to say what's the big needle mover, pull the 7 foods, add the Virgin Diet shake in. And if I'm going to add, and I don't like to give people too many things to think about because honestly, like if you get into this overwhelm, it's analysis paralysis. So what you're going to find in the program is that I just walk you through it. Remember I said that it has the walking tour and the workbook? It's like we're just going to work our way through it step by step. The first thing is you're going to find out, hey, where am I now? You take that food intolerance quiz and you go, how am I feeling now? All right. Then you're going to set yourself up for success. You're going to go through and you're going to get stuff out of your kitchen and you're going to put the right stuff in your kitchen. So you know exactly what you need to have there and you're not going to go, oh my gosh, that snuck in. You're going to know exactly what you need to have. And this is normal food, not weird stuff. Then you focus on cycle 1 and really just focus on pulling those 7 foods out. And the big thing I have you do is the shake. The shake makes life so easy. Honestly, a lot of times if I'm being lazy, I'll have 2 shakes in a day, or if I'm traveling, it just makes it easy. Once you get through that, and then you go through that period where you're going to challenge back the foods, again, to connect the dots between what you're eating and how you feel and what you weigh so you can see what's working and what's not. Then we're going to get into some of those other needle movers. And again, remember, I told you part of the bonuses for the program, and what I love is weight loss resistance. I don't love weight loss resistance. I love the fact that we can break through weight loss resistance. Welcome, Christine, by the way. I love the fact that we can break through weight loss resistance, that there's all these things that can hold you back from losing weight, and we can get through them. Now, I always start with food because that's the biggest needle mover, and I start with the 7 food and doing the shake. But then as we're going along, if you feel like you get stuck or maybe, you're hearing everyone else lost 7 pounds and you didn't, that's where we start getting into these areas of weight loss resistance. So that's one of the bonuses that I put into the program. And, if we need to, again, I'm like in this with you guys. And as you can tell, I love this part of it. So if, as we're in the program, we go, I need to do more just on that, we'll do it. We're going to do what you need. That's the way it works because that's what I was put here to do. And that's here to serve. So In cycle 3, we address exercise and stress and sleep. But again, I don't want you to go there till you really just get through pulling the 7 out, swapping in other foods. I swear you won't even miss them. Hey, by the way, Joe and Liana and Franca and Sandy and Jerry and Janice, welcome on in. Yay, and you get that in the kitchen because you're one of the first 256. So cool. Anyway, but we'll be addressing that in depth. So I sort of answered, non-answered. Okay, how to stop the chocolate cravings. So can I just say dark chocolate doesn't have dairy? And I found, so my son Grant, he is, so I've been working on this sugar book, and my son Grant doesn't eat gluten or dairy. He is like a crazed person about sugar. Oh my gosh, he has now become he is so focused on all this stuff, and it's so cool. And he's really into like what is good and healthy for him. I mean, last night I made dinner, and we had heirloom tomatoes with basil and this amazing olive oil. And then we had this chopped salad with kale and garbanzo beans and arugula and radishes and red peppers and red onions and carrots and celery and cucumber. And I made a macadamia nut Dijon white wine vinegar dressing with some chopped up cashews in it and sea salt. And then I made, we had Cuban black beans because we just went to Key West and the Bahamas, and he's like totally hooked on black beans. It's kind of a bizarro dinner, and I made some kabocha squash with this amazing sea salted grass-fed butter. And then I made the mystery fish. Jeff, what is that mystery fish? And some grass-fed beef filet mignon. So I make all this stuff last night. And he's like, is this good for me? Should I eat more of these? He's asking about the tomatoes. And then we finished it off, and I wish I had this brand, because we've been eating 100% dark chocolate, no sugar at all. So if you're having the chocolate cravings, a lot of times they'll say the chocolate cravings are because you're craving magnesium. I don't believe it. I do think we all need to be taking magnesium. It's it's the mineral we tend to be the most deficient in. And have a little Epsom salts bath at night. That's always yummy. But, chocolate is just, it's a drug too, and it has theobromine in it, and it mimics you being in love, right? So there's some yummy, wonderful things about chocolate too. So again, I'll figure that out. So if you're in the challenge, you're going to find out this new dark chocolate I found. There's also Soma Arcana that's 100%, but it's in Canada. It's hard to get. And then there's another one, Chocolatry, that does 100%. I mean, just cool stuff. And again, I'm always like on the hunt. Oh, welcome, Martha. I see Martha coming on board. All right. So, and again, I love whipping up stuff. And the way I cook, like last night I told you I made all that stuff, literally the chopped salad takes forever. I'm going to kid you not. It takes a long time. So I generally will do that if I'm doing something else. I'm like chopping away. And I make chopped salad for a couple days because I'm completely addicted to chopped salad. And I've been doing kale and arugula and romaine and radishes and cucumbers and celery and carrots. And then the salad dressing, and a version of it's in the Virgin Diet Cookbook, but I'm always messing around. Like what I would tell you with all the recipes you're going to get in the program is they are framework, they're recommendations, and then go out and play. And we're going to have a contest in the challenge. And I think what I'm going to do too is in the challenge is we've got all sorts of cool prizes, like my Virgin Diet Chef aprons, my new Virgin sprinkles, excisers kicking in, So Delicious Dairy Free sending great prize packages, and then again Jeff's doing the wild fish packages. So we got all sorts of fun stuff that we're doing. But what we're going to do is I'm going to do the best tweak to a Virgin Diet Cookbook recipe is going to win stuff. I think we're going to pick actually 5 people there, maybe more. Fun for all. I'm also doing a bunch of extra. You guys are getting extra stuff and special offers and all sorts of stuff that other people don't get because you are the inner circle coming in with me. And can you tell I'm like totally excited we're going to be doing this. Okay, so the chocolate thing, the answer to the chocolate thing is that you can use dark chocolate with no dairy. Okay, and there's sugar-free, no dairy dark chocolate. How cool is that? Okay, so let's do 2 more. Okay, let's do 3 more. Let's do 4 more, and that's it. All right. What are substitutes for the beloved cheese? all you have to do is make, I've got in the cookbook, raw cashew nut cheese, sea salt, black pepper. You can't believe this because you're like, seriously? It's awesome. It's awesome. And here's the thing, 3 or 4 days you're going to be like angry, okay, craving your cheese. You'll be hangry cheese person, and then boom, you will not want it anymore. And it's interesting for me because, I mean, literally cheesecake, cheese. I spent one summer perfecting a cheesecake with no sugar in it before I discovered the whole dairy issue. Oh my gosh. But anyway, you'll see a couple days you will not want it. But I'll tell you what, this raw cashew cheese is out of this world. You will love it, Lisa. Now, from Carol, is it not true that you need to omit the foods for all time and not just for the 21 days according to your program? Okay, so here's how it works. You pull the foods out and you see how you feel. I don't know. It depends on you. If you notice that when you try gluten again, you feel crappy, you don't eat gluten. Obviously, like, you're not going to start eating sugar again, right? But you'll see how you do. I think people need to be careful with soy if you find that you can handle it. If you ate organic soy that's well fermented here and there. But as far as eggs go and dairy, you need to see how you feel. And that's the second cycle of the program. It is called the Re-Challenge cycle. But here's what I have found on the program that is crazy, and I never would have expected this, honestly. I never would have expected that people wouldn't want to do cycle 2. So what happens is once people get into it, and the first week's crazy, because the first couple days you're craving the foods that are hurting you, which is awesome, by the way, because you crave those foods that are hurting you. So if the first couple days you're going, if I don't have cheese, I'm going to go crazy, that just shows you that you've got an issue and you're going to have huge results. By the end of the first week, you feel so much different that you don't want to go back. At the end of the third week, this is the biggest question I get asked on the program besides the sugar question, is do I have to do cycle 2? Because people don't even want to do it. They've swapped out those foods for other foods. They like the other foods better. They feel great. They don't even want it. They're like, I don't even want those foods anymore. I mean, it happens all the time. Now, I have you re-challenged because I want you to connect the dots between what you're eating and how you feel and what you weigh. I want you to know. So you can go, like for me, when I tried eggs, I did it by accident. This is how you don't re-challenge a food. You don't re-challenge a food in Las Vegas the night before you have to speak to a couple thousand doctors on food intolerance. Like, how ridiculous is this? And find out that you're intolerant to eggs. And I mean, literally, it was like that movie, was it Alien, where Sigourney Weaver's like got the thing punching out of her stomach. That was me in the hotel room. I thought I was going to have to call the paramedics. Oh my gosh. All right, from Shelley. What's your opinion of bulletproof coffee? I love bulletproof coffee. I drink it every day, and I love Dave Asprey. Love you, Dave. It's the coffee I use. I actually normally only drink espresso because caffeine slams me, but I can do bulletproof coffee because it's mycotoxin free. And if you do it the Dave Asprey way, well, we use ghee and coconut, the MCT coconut oil. I do that if I'm taping video, if I'm doing something where I need a lot of focus. I don't actually do that every day. It's like, it's so yummy. It's kind of like, I feel like it's my Sunday thing, right? It's like a latte. It's awesome. Now, where do you get defatted beef protein? That's actually, so I have 2 types of virgin diet shakes. I have the plant-based. Those are the original formula. And then I have the new ones, which are the defatted beef protein. So let me give you a little insight on those. They're both all-in-one shakes with fiber and plant nutrients and enzymes and probiotics and vitamins and minerals. The defatted beef protein actually is totally non-reactive. 5% of the people, when they have pea protein, get gas. I'm just going to tell you, just giving you a heads up, not to program you to think you're going to get gas, but like 5% of the people do. If you do, you can take a product called hydrolyzyme that we have, and you will get rid of the gas. But you might have to get the gas to know that you got the gas, to take the hydrolyzyme to get rid of the gas. But just telling you, sorry. Anyway, but if you're a vegan, that's for you. Now, pea protein's bulkier, right, than defatted beef protein. So the same amount of protein is about half the size. So they're both 2 scoops, but you'll see that the new defatted beef protein shakes, the new all-in-ones, are smaller, the container's smaller than the pea ones because the plant-based is bulkier than the beef one. The beef protein's defatted. It's from Swiss cows that are grass-fed and happy. And it's amazing because it's got collagen. It's very bioavailable, no reaction at all. So like food sensitivities, I mean, pea is very low reactive, beef is non-reactive. And those people that tend to get gas, you won't get it with beef. And so you get all those benefits of beef, but you don't get the issues like if you're doing factory beef, which is just disgusting and you need to run away from. And the other cool thing is it's got really the nutrition value of egg white, and it's got the mouth feel. Like if you've been totally missing those whey protein shakes, which by the way, we wrote an article about that. So I don't recommend whey because obviously it's dairy here and people will react to it. It breaks my skin out. But also, you know, we see a lot of people have food intolerance reactions to it, but it also raises insulin more than a couple pieces of bread do. So for weight loss, I am not a fan of whey, but I like the defatted protein because it gives you that same mouthfeel of whey, which is so yummy. So I was totally missing that, that creamy, yummy stuff. But it doesn't break my skin out, and it also gives you the collagen, so really good for healing. Okay. And then what do you recommend for swaps for bread and cheese? So cheese, I just gave you nut cheese. And again, we've got one in the cashew cheese in the Virgin Diet Cookbook. And bread, so if you're doing tortillas, rice tortillas, and I love coconut wraps. They are amazing. I got to tell you, I think you're way better off. Like these gluten-free breads are still very high starch, and they're going to raise insulin. So if you're trying to lose weight, I don't see them as a real good option. If you aren't trying to lose weight, you can incorporate a little bit in, and I really like sprouted grain gluten-free breads would be my choice. Okay, last question, and I'll say a couple wrap-up fun stuff, and I'll see you in the forum, and I see more people coming in. Thank you. I'm so excited that we're going to be doing this together. So anyway, Candace wants to know, how does prescription medications affect how the Virgin Diet works? Okay, so well, it depends on the prescription medications. A lot of prescription medications you're going to end up going down on, like blood pressure, diabetes. And so if you are, I always tell you to monitor that, let your doctor know, work with your doctor, because you will be going down in some of those medications. And so you want to be monitoring that. There are a couple you really do need to monitor and work with your doctor. This is just a great program for you if you are struggling with any of the lifestyle diseases. Now, the thyroid medications, hormone medications, I really think one of the first courses of action you should do for hormone balance, and I know Dr. Sarah Gottfried, my buddy there, would agree with me, is get your diet in control, and so would Alan Christensen, because then you might need less of those medications. But the big thing you're going to have to watch here is you may need less of the medications that you're using. So just to be aware of that as you start to get things under control. And I was looking at things even like if you're using any of the medications for depression, you might find that as you're going through and you're eating better and you're getting more healthy omega-3s in, that you can work with your doctor there. Now, if you are on, and I just say this because, having a son who just went through a major brain injury, and a lot of the medications they initially put him on, he went from 200 pounds down to 145 pounds up to 245 because of the psych meds. I freaked out. And as one of my friends pointed out, you know what, JJ, you're a weight loss expert. Like, he's alive. You can figure this part out. I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, this is not hard. So he now weighs 185. I mean, he's amazing. So fit, so healthy. It's so awesome. But some of those medications that are anti-seizure medications, bipolar medications, can cause some issues too. So again, that would be one that we would probably work with through the calls. If you wanted to let us know what it was, I can give you more. It's kind of like prescription meds are so broad, I'm not sure what we're talking about there, but just know, I think the big takeaway there is you may find with a lot of these things you don't need the meds you were needing before, and so you're working with your doctor there on those to do it. Okay, I hope that helped. Again, I am looking so forward to Barbara and Susan and Carol and Rose. I feel like, remember that, I'm going to so date myself if you're not 50 like me. but I feel like romper room, and in the mirror I see Barbara and Susan. But I am really looking forward to doing this with you again all of a sudden. And shout out to Jeff and Catalina on vacation listening in, that when he said, he got the book and never opened it, I'm like, we need a start date. We need a start date. And so again, you've got a start date, because the biggest things that I hope that you got from this today is, number one, if you were listening and you started listening, you went, oh, this is different. This is something different than anything I've ever done before. And maybe you were kind of at that point where you'd just given up and you just felt like, this is just where I'm supposed to be. Maybe you were like Jeff and weight loss was your hobby. My gosh, he's, 100-pound shifts. And now you realize that it doesn't have to be that way. Jeff sent me a picture of him in a room full of cheesecakes, and he goes, I feel nothing. This would have taken me down a couple months ago. And so things can be totally different. And so that's the first thing is, if you've been beating yourself up, it's not your fault. You've been following the wrong set of rules. And literally in a week, you're going to be in a totally different place. And then by mid-August, totally different place. And a friend will be going along with you, and they'll be in a different place too. Because remember, you're getting the online program we're going to be using all during the group challenge, and then you'll have access to that like for the duration. And so will your friend. You guys are both going to have tickets to the group challenge. That start date, we'll be doing it together. And if for some reason you can't start right on the start date, it's okay. And you'll still have access to the online program. And for the first 256, and I see now we got Lisa and Kathy and Marilyn and Leah, you'll also get my $97 In the Kitchen with JJ DVD series, where I cooked with all sorts of fun people. And then we also created a recipe guide. And we're sending you that hard package of the DVD series and the recipe guide. And again, the program is $97. So you're actually, the bonus is, and then the ticket, and then the whole thing for a friend. I tried to make this like irresistible because I want you to start with me and do this. And I want to run into you somewhere and just say, hey, you know what? I'd given up. I heard this. I got my life back. This great opportunity happened, and I was ready. I could take charge of it. There is nothing holding me back. So it's your time, man. It's like your time. The time is now. It's starting now. July 21st, we start prepping. July 28th, cycle 1. So click on that button. Join us now. And if you can't see the button, it's jjvirgin.com/group challenge. Come with me. Do this with me. Join the Virgin Diet Group Challenge. Click the button below. Thank you.